Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
We now wander off the beaten path with an update from the Reefer Reporter.
Hello and welcome to the Reefer Reporters. It's June the 2nd, 2022, and we are live here on our YouTube channel and Facebook pages from the Legacy420.com news desk. Good day, Glenn. How are you doing?
Morning, Al. I'm doing great today.
Good. Don't mind my clapping. I'm just swatting mosquitoes here, guy. Okay.
I'll just take it as you're clapping for me.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Just I can see them flying by me. It's I've got the door open, so it's my own fault. I got the door open here so that the cats and the dog can go in and out, and so some little guys come flying in at the same time.
That's
right?
time of year.
That's that time, exactly. And it's rain and everything stirs them all up, so they're loose. They're out there on the hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's new and exciting since last week? Getting some riding time in?
Lots and lots of riding. Absolutely love it. I go out a couple times a day. Sometimes you get kind of lost, I just keep going. I love it.
Good. Talking about beards, I know you told me you tied it back and stuff. I saw a guy walking down the street the other day. He was walking, and it was split, and it was over each shoulder.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've gone out a couple of times on the bike, and it kind of splits up like that, and I don't know. It looks a little funny to me, but what do you do?
Yeah,
right?
That's right. What do you do? All right. Well, into our first story of the day. This comes to us from CBC, and that is that the Liberals say they're open to speaking with the provinces and the cities about drug decriminalization. Glenn, I don't know. Did you see the earlier news on this where they announced that in BC that they were going to do it in BC, and now beyond that, they're talking about expanding it beyond just British Columbia?
Yes, I'm not sure which side of the fence I stand on this yet. I'm doing my research. I'm trying to figure out what's best for everybody, not just for a couple people.
Right. You want to know what the whole thing is about. You're not going to make a judge decision yet. You want to read about what it is, what it entails.
Yeah, because our system has told us that everything's bad forever. I know that cannabis didn't wind up being what they said it was. So I don't know a lot about these hard drugs they're talking about, but I'm learning.
Yeah, you're learning. The places like Insight have been successful to help people, and the decriminalizing would help them as well. Helps them get them into treatment, get some assistance and some help. And by allowing them that small amount, it won't put them into jail for that small quantity.
I think I might be a supporter if the money that was spent on policing is now spent on medical.
To try and
help these people.
Yeah. All right, let's continue with the story. All right.
The federal government says it's open to further decriminalization of small-scale possession of hard drugs in jurisdictions across the country, while the Conservatives say they support what they call a health-based approach to drug addiction. The Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, which is Carolyn Bennett, said Wednesday that while it's the government's goal to expand decriminalization, it must be done in concert with local governments and reflect reality in each part of the country.
Bennett made the remarks the day after announcing that beginning next year, Canadians in BC aged 18 and older will be able to possess small amounts of hard drugs under a special legal exemption. She says the 4 drugs that are in the plan in BC may not be the 4 drugs that another part of the country would want in their application. So there are different local realities.
This is something that confuses me more. I think if you're going to do it, you might as well make sure it's even across the board.
I can see where you're coming from. I look at it as they want to look at like Toronto, for example. Toronto has applied for the same thing as BC has. They want an exemption based on what their particular situation is. Okay, so the one going on in BC is whatever their particular situation is with the people that are dealing with the overdoses and so on and so forth. And then what they want to do is in Toronto, they want to deal with Toronto's hard drug problem with the drugs that are problem in Toronto versus the problems of the drugs that are in BC. Instead of doing it nationwide for all so, you know, say there's 8 different kinds of drugs that they want to focus on, and do it nationwide. They're doing it in smaller pieces depending on where the location is and what their situation is.
See, the way I think is, why don't the provinces submit the drugs they're having a problem with, and let's decriminalize across the board whatever the provinces submitted? Because then when you have an addict or someone who uses these drugs travels, they're dealing with the same law. I have a problem when you move across a country and one province is a different law than another. You know, it's weird to me. Like I let's do it across the board. I'm not talking about, you know, we'll eliminate something that happens in BC because it doesn't happen here. I mean, just do it across the board. You
want nationwide coverage type things.
Yeah, because people travel. Like, we're having a problem here.
It's like, you know, saying that you can't smoke cannabis in Quebec.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I want this equal across the board. And I'm not trying to make, you know, I don't want one drug above another. I just want equal, all equal.
Yeah, all the way across.
The first of its kind exemption will allow people in BC to possess up to a combined 2.5 grams of opioids, cocaine, methamphetamine, and MDMA. It goes into effect January 31st, 2023, and lasts until January 21st, 2026, unless it is revoked or replaced before then.
The exemption means that there will be no arrests, charges, or seizures for personal possession at or below the 2.5 gram threshold. Vancouver and the Toronto Public Health have separately filed similar exemption requests.
And NDP leader Jagmeet Singh said Tuesday that rolling out decriminalization in BC alone leaves most Canadians with addictions facing criminal prosecution instead of the health-based approach to addiction offered in BC. It's shameful, frankly, to not take a national approach on national crisis, Singh said. The Prime Minister has to leadership here. We can save lives today.
So that basically, you're in agreement with
I fully agree with him here for sure.
Yeah, that's when I read that. Okay, I think I'd say Glenn's agreeing along that we're a natural approach, and I'm sure that there's lots of advocates out there that agree with you.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. Singh called on the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to support NDP MP Gord John's private members bill, which would expand decriminalization across the country. That bill went down to defeat on Wednesday. When Singh put his question about John's bill to Trudeau during question period in the House of Commons on Tuesday, the Prime Minister said he supports the spirit of the legislation, but not its approach.
Taking a healthcare approach across the country, which is exactly the approach one needs to take. One needs to work with the people who actually direct the healthcare in every different province, Trudeau said. That means working with the provinces. That means working with municipalities. That means working with frontline workers. And that's exactly what we've done moving forward with BC responsibly to make sure there's a framework around it.
Earlier in the day, Singh said that John's bill would introduce a national strategy to ensure a safe supply of drugs and would allow for the expungement of criminal records associated with addictions that create stigma and make it hard for drug users to reclaim their lives. I haven't heard any of that on this Liberal proposal, which is, that's like the cannabis thing where we've been talking about in the U.S., right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The HIV Legal Network said it also welcomed the changes in BC, but felt the federal government should have done more.
It's disappointing that decriminalization under the model announced May 31st will not protect all people who use drugs from the harms of criminalization, the group said in a statement. We support progress, but we dream bigger. We want full decriminalization for all.
While he didn't endorse the decriminalization program in BC, Conservative MP Michael Barrett, the party's health critic, said the government's focus should be on replacing criminal sanctions for users with a health-based approach while still targeting traffickers. Excuse me.
Canadians struggling with addiction deserve compassion, with access to treatment and a path to recovery. And we believe the federal government should be prioritizing that care by expanding treatment and recovery and get help. It said our country must target individual trafficking illegal drugs. Conservative MP Brad Viss, who represents the BC riding of Mission Masquee, sorry, I can't pronounce that, Fraser Canyon, said while he supports a healthcare approach, the move to decriminalize small-scale possession in BC is a little more than a symbolic act.
Already in British Columbia, we have to de facto decriminalization. So what in addition is decriminalization doing other than being symbolic when it's already the de facto process for our law enforcement and the Crown Council, which laid charges in British Columbia? Sounds like the cannabis issue so many years ago. Vice says he supports moving away from criminalization towards a health-based approach to addiction, but only if the change comes with the requisite treatment and policy to get people the mental health and the physical health that they need.
And he said BC's exemption bid was successful because the proposal discussed how the provinces would ramp up social services to manage people with addictions diverted from the criminal justice system.
No, it's a big step either way. I think for the country, the federal government to do that. But yeah, there's more that needs to be done. There's no doubt about that.
To me, I've always been against this most of my life because I always thought it would lead to cheaper hard drugs. But I'm kind of changing the way I think about it because I do believe people need medical help more than to be in jail. So
correct. Exactly. That's the health approach. What's not mentioned in there is anything to do with the supply. Like basically, okay, we're not going to charge you for having them, but you're still relying on having to get it from the street versus having a supply. Some people look at having maybe a proper controlled supply for those people would be something that would be an added step to it, I would believe.
See, I don't know if I'm ready to go that far yet. I don't.
It'd be like a prescription for it versus someone buying it off the street.
Yeah. I have to do a lot more research on that one.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Things are already involved just by the time you got through this story, I think.
Yeah.
And I think you'll find that probably as we do more stories here on the Reefer Reporters. So, all righty, on to the next one. This one comes from StratCan. It says the report says that taxes, provincial markups represent nearly 50% of the price of cannabis products in Ontario.
A new report presented at a recent industry lobby event is highlighting the high level of taxation and markup on cannabis products in Ontario and Canada as a whole. The report, provided by Parthenon on behalf of the Cannabis Council of Canada, shows that government taxes and provincial markups represent nearly 50% of the price of cannabis products in Ontario. And all I can say is welcome to Canada.
Yeah. This brings into question the sustainability of legal cannabis industry, concludes the report, with some, especially large public licensed producers in Canada, on the verge of bankruptcy. The report calls on the reduction of federal and provincial excise duty rates, the creation of a single harmonized federal excise tax rather than a provincial ones, a reduction of regulatory fees, a potential increase in edibles potency limits, yay, less restrictive marketing regulations and packaging requirements, and increased enforcement against the black market.
The report is based on data collected over the past 3 years by Hi-Fire, specifically looking at 1 gram flower, 1 gram pre-rolls, and 750 milligrams vape carts, and 10 milligrams edibles, arguing the legal cannabis producers only capture about 27% of the overall retail price. Predictably, these high markup rates make it difficult to compete with an unregulated, untaxed black market, especially when it comes to edibles and vape carts. These categories continue to be significantly more expensive than their illicit market counterparts, even as prices on legal dried flower and concentrates have gone down significantly since first introduced in the legal market.
This price compression hits markets the most as taxes and provincial markets continue to make a big bite out of profits. The share of new sales for licensed producers decreased from 74% in July of 2019 to 60.8% in April of 2022, while federal and provincial excise duties increased from basically 24% to almost 38%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems to be a Canadian thing. Let's tax it out of existence.
Oh, wow. Okay, go ahead.
The report authors are planning on a phase 2 of their work in the future, looking at the price elasticity of demand for cannabis in order to use this to estimate tax revenues lost to federal and provincial governments at the current excise duty rates, and the impact on the size of the contraband market and the profitability of industry licensees at alternative rates excise duty. Wow.
That's where your money's going when you go in there and buy something at the store, right?
Yeah, it's like going to the gas station. Same thing these days.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Exactly.
So, but the worst thing about this is a lot of medical people go there, and they're still paying these exorbitant amounts for it when it should be a lot.
Oh yeah. National Cannabis Survey. 53% of the people who go in the door do so for medical purposes.
Yeah, well, there you go. So maybe we should drop the taxes on that.
Maybe, eh? Be nice, eh? Yes. All right, next story. This is an opinion piece. The Ontario's Soviet-style cannabis monopoly. It's an opinion piece in the Sudbury Star. This ought to be interesting.
Ontario's budget was pitched as a plan to build. Unfortunately, it comes to over 1.5 million annual sales of billion annual cannabis sales in Ontario. What the Ford government has built is a monster monopoly that is eating up profits, stifling innovation, and slowly strangling the new cannabis industry, especially in small operators and independent retailers. And this kind of piggybacks on the story we just did.
All of the many cannabis stores that have popped up in the last few years, whose proliferation has itself become an election issue, are focused to buy their cannabis products from a single government wholesaler. For that part, cannabis producers can only sell to this big government monopoly. This all-powerful gatekeeper, to pick a term from the headlines, is the Crown Corporation, the Ontario Cannabis Retail Corporation, which does business as the Ontario Cannabis Store. It has over 200 staff, 103 of them make over $100,000 in 2021, according to the Government of Ontario Salary Disclosure List, which has a link. It directly limits what retailers can buy and producers can sell, and it takes a massive average markup of 42% just to be a middleman warehouse and also run a small online retail portal responsible for only 3.7% of the industry sales.
Wow.
And don't forget, they also take money from the micro producers who have the gate situations, where they have farm gate, right? Because their product never leaves their business, but yet they have to pay a fee to the Ontario government for doing it.
Wow.
For that.
Well, there's part of our 50% right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Huge chunk. The criteria the OCS uses to decide whether or not to accept the producer's product are neither clear nor well documented, according to the most recent Ontario Auditor General report on the issue. But if a producer is lucky enough to have a cannabis product accepted by the OCS and agrees on a price of $5, which has to cover all the costs of manufacturing, packaging, and shipping to the OCS. Then the OCS will sell it to a private retailer for at least $7.50, who will then have to price it even higher when selling it to the public. The huge market before HST or excise duty is often more than the producers or retailers themselves make, though they do all the important work. Essentially, the OCS is the world's most profitable publicly funded warehouse. The Ford government has built an entity that communist Russia would be proud of. Wow.
Wow, eh?
Yeah.
Even if we accept the governments need to be involved in the cannabis value chain, and they are in Alberta, BC, and Quebec, how does Ontario justify its massive margins? Quebec's government is also a middleman in the cannabis industry, but manages to run all the province's cannabis retail stores for a margin of only 14.9% on dried flower, compared to the 39.4% margin OCS takes on dried flower and sold online. Alberta's government, like Ontario's, only runs warehousing, but it has an average margin of approximately 30% on dried flower, employs no more than 40 staff, and selling over $700 million worth of cannabis per year.
And you might expect an operation that charges such a big markup to be at least world class, but the OCS had been plagued by problems, including the loss of thousands of packets of cannabis, and there's a link there. According to CBC, bad customer service, with over 1,000 cases investigated by the Ontario Ombudsman. Serious data leaks, performance pay and bonuses not being based on robust performance measurement, and non-competitive sole sourcing of procurements.
Wow. 1,000 cases investigated by the Ontario Ombudsman.
This is a government tax scheme run amok.
Oh, wow. Bottom line,
how hard is it going to be to get them to give up this now that they're raking in this much money? It's going to be really hard.
Not likely. No. Oh, we'll give up the online sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now the bottom line, they say, is producers and retailers are making less, consumers are paying more, and taxpayers are losing millions in revenues just to feed the beast of the big government OCS monopoly. Letting a state-run monopoly keep its foot on the neck of small cannabis producers and retailers is anything but progressively conservative. Whichever Ontario party wins Thursday election needs to be reformed and preferably disband the OCS so that a competitive cannabis industry can replace a grotesque government cartel.
Oh, good luck, whoever gets elected.
Yeah.
Right
yeah, exactly. It has been involved in the elections, and they've been talking about most of it, though. The talk that I've seen, and I haven't really followed the election that closely, to be honest with you, but anything to do with the cannabis that I've seen, they've talked about the stores, the number of stores, and people complaining about how many stores are, the proliferation of them.
Yeah,
that's all I've been seeing.
There's 103 people there that make over $100,000 a year. Those people are not going to give those jobs up easily.
No. All right, on to the next article. This one comes to us from Strachan, and it says, strict age gate rules, inconsistent enforcement frustrates some Alberta retailers. Oh, good. Another happy story, eh?
Yeah. Although Alberta has some of the strictest, strictest rules in Canada when it comes to age gates for online cannabis sites, especially for delivery, several retailer locations in the province only have a soft age gate, meaning they only ask a user to self-attest their age. The alternative is a hard age gate that requires all users to first prove their age by submitting identification. While most provinces allow a soft age gate, Alberta has always required a hard age gate for those purchasing for delivery.
My customers ask if I'm crazy, and I have it explained I'm supposed to do this. Meanwhile, many others haven't, but it's much more creative. It has very much created an uneven playing field, according to Ryan Roach of the Lake City Cannabis. When Alberta closed down its provincial online retail platform earlier this year and opened up online sales to private retailers in the province, they extended the hard gate requirements to those platforms. Although cannabis stores will still required to have an age gate priority to this change, it was less strictly enforced than the new rules by purchasing online for delivery. Yeah, those soft gates, they're just useless.
Yeah, they're just saying they required ID to buy it originally in the store, and now they require it online. I don't see a problem with that in my mind.
I never purchased any items before online, but I believe that they did here with the OCS, they needed to prove your age. I'm not 100% sure, but I would think so.
Yeah,
Like,
I would think
if they're just using the one where where a 5-year-old could click on it.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
I'm 21. That's all it says, and you click it. That's it.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah. Okay.
And they can't do that for alcohol, so why could they do it for cannabis? I think that's fine. Ryan Roach, the owner of Lake City Cannabis, the 2 cannabis retail stores, one in Calgary and one in Chestermere, says he's consistent enforcement, creating it's kind of enforcing double standards, said Roach. There are those who wish to avoid, like myself, while those who flaunt it seem to be allowed to continue to do so.
Roach says he took steps to convert his website to require a hard age gate and feels this decision is losing him business when consumers can just visit a different website that has no such requirements. My customers ask if I'm crazy, as I explained earlier, and it's just, he says it's an unliving playing field.
Yeah, he's right. He's definitely right.
Yeah. Although Roche and 2 other retailers that StratCan spoke with recently referenced some delivery websites that have no hard age gate, a review this week of these businesses show a hard age gate. However, many retailers in the province that are not offering delivery still only have a soft age gate in place.
Yeah, I agree with this guy. I think you have to have a hard age gate on this if that's what the law says. Everybody should be that.
Yeah. Well, it's the purchasing end of things, like those soft gates, they're just ridiculous. So
yeah,
that's why I don't have one on mine.
I wonder, when you get alcohol delivered, do you have to show them ID, or how does that work?
Never had it delivered, but
yeah, neither have I.
I would assume that it would be based on your appearance, the same as it is in the store.
Yeah, but that's, would
they ask you for ID? Would they ask you for ID when they were delivering it to your house? Like, look, you got this great big gray beard.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I was asked for ID.
17-year-old doesn't have that, right?
Oh, come on, I'm just an old-looking teenager.
I know you are in heart, man. I know you are in heart. All right, this is the last story before we go to break. And listen up, medical growers, guys, for your licenses. They're going after us again.
Great.
And that is because in Prince Rupert, it says that the city council to head off cannabis law loopholes with new bylaws and lobbying. So the council wants to create laws against medical cannabis users. And
laws against
grow their own. These people grow their own, like ourselves.
Constitutional rights under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms may hinder the city of Prince Rupert from fully enforcing any current or potential municipal laws regulating medical cannabis grow operations permitted by Health Canada. The council heard at the regular meeting on May 30th. Yep.
Mayor, go ahead. Go ahead.
Taking the rights away. That's the same thing you were just saying.
That's right. Mayor Lee Brain said this is a problem, not just for Prince Rupert, but for the nation. And he wants community members to be aware of the several challenges the city faces. Creating bylaws and lobbying upper levels of government to better regulate medical cannabis grow operations were recommended to the city council in a report by Rosa Miller, a corporate administrator, as a response to what many see as a problem.
And there are some city bylaws. The official community plan does provide some regulations and provisions regarding the growth of cannabis, Miller said. These specific restrictions may not apply to medical growth, as the restrictions may be deemed unlawful on users' constitutional rights to life, liberty, and security of person.
Yep. She explained that under the 2018 federal legalization of cultivation, processing, sales, and consumption, municipal governments received no notice or opportunity to comment on zoning compliance for medical production. She says that compliance with zoning is not legally required under the Cannabis Act.
The topic of public safety in regard to cannabis operations has become more prevalent with increasing calls for inspections and regulations for nuisance, odor, and fire safety, Miller said. Some bylaws, such as building bylaws, apply to medical cannabis-related development, but may only help regulate growth and not prohibit cannabis operations. The same does not apply to non-medical growth.
Their application, the enforcement of bylaws, may be constrained by human rights laws, the doctrine of paramountcy,
Wow.
and by private protection under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, according to the corporate minister.
The challenge that the community needs to understand is that we don't really have the right to show up to someone's operation, walk inside of it, decide if we agree or don't agree it's done properly, and do some sort of legal action against that. Because of the loophole, that is this whole problem with Health Canada, Mayor Lee Brain said.
Your medical privacy rights, buddy. Medical privacy rights.
Yeah.
Loophole was previously reported, like how they use that, loophole. Reported in the Northern View back on May the 11th, is the difficulty in regulating the medical cannabis grower operations licensed under Health Canada due to personal health information being confidential. Bingo.
That's the way it should be.
Bingo.
Wow. Yeah. Jeez. Every medical cannabis license holder is permitted to allocate a grower on their behalf who could grow the amount of cannabis prescribed by doctors for up to 4 license holders, thus allowing unlimited plants. Or it's not unlimited, it's what the doctors have licensed them for.
It's what the doctors have prescribed. Them in grammage. The doctor prescribes them a grammage, and they have a formula in order to determine the number of plants.
Yeah,
it's their formula.
That's regulated, so I don't understand this one. Health and safety concerns have been the topic of discussions between community leaders and residents after fire in a downtown property where an alleged medicinal grow operation destroyed a neighboring hotel. Well, that would be fire regulations that you should be discussing then, right?
Well, what they want to be able to do is they want to be able to go inside a patient's garden and make sure that everything passes their bylaws when it comes to things such as fire regulations, building codes,
which is basically
ventilation, so on and so forth.
It's basically going to make everyone's grow so expensive that it's not worth growing anymore.
Well, the thing is, as they say, it is a medical thing, and a medical thing is that is protected. Your medical information is protected, and that's part of it.
Yep.
I hear this all the time when I do these reports of municipalities complaining left and right. There's going to be a review on the medical program. I know there's going to be something that's probably going to happen to the designated grower end, but who knows what else.
Well, we're going to find out soon.
Yeah, continue.
For example, for an electrical permit, because they're not going through the regular process of applying for permits and then having the fire department show up, who is approving their operations at this moment? Brain questioned during the meeting. Is this done entirely by Health Canada? Whether or not they inspect is a question that we have no answer to, Rob Buchan, city manager, said in response, adding he backed the design of new bylaws because there is probably some legal ability to enforce a bylaw.
The challenge, of course, is finding out where the facilities are because Health Canada does not tell us, Buchanan says. So we'll have to do some homework on where they are. And when we find out about them, we can, in the end, approach them to make sure that they're complying with the regulatory aspects of health and safety in our bylaws.
So how much is it going to cost us for these guys to hire a whole bunch of investigators to find out where all these are?
I don't know. It might be like a $500 fee for them to come in and inspect your house before you could grow a cannabis plant. But are they going to do that if you're going to grow tomatoes or maybe orchids or anything else?
Very slippery slope.
Cannabis.
Yeah. City manager said new bylaws could potentially be quite problematic. Still, he believes it is an avenue that should be tried in tandem with lobbying the federal government, which was started on the weekend after the discussions with Skeena, Bulkley Valley NDP MP Taylor Backrack. Wow.
Brain said his understanding is that the courts have ruled individuals cannot be limited in their access to growing medical cannabis, which is why the city is not permitted to regulate medical grow operations in the same way they would a business.
I guess the challenge is we can do these actions, but with no guarantee they will always have results, Brain said. And as also that Health Canada won't inform us where these locations are, which requires us to know. I mean, people know where they are, but we don't know officially where they are, which is ridiculous, Brain said.
Well, there you go. See, they want to go at our gardens. And there's going to be that cannabis. There's a review coming up for cannabis through the Cannabis Act, but there's also this review coming up with the medical program in 2023. So it's going to be interesting, I think, and it's all across the country. The municipality has been using that word loophole in the program for quite a while now. So it's. I
don't know if I call it a loophole if it's actually designed into the law. And the courts have ruled on it already.
And the courts have already ruled on it. Yeah. Patients have, had to go to the Supreme Court time and time and time again. And, the next time around, if it ever gets there again, it'll be a whole different crew that's going to be doing it. And it's just sad that they just keep going at us. So, all right, time for break. And Glenn and I get back, we'll update you on some more stories. You're watching the Reefer Reporters. We're live here on the Pace Radio Network. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Hi folks, Scott from stfattiesday.com here, and we're absolutely stoked to tell you about our brand new program called Pass the Peace Pipe and our partnership with Legacy 420 out of Tyndonega. We are absolutely proud to be partners with these people. They are an amazing group that have helped so many people with their amazing cannabis medicinal products. And we are working together to gather funds to build the first ever Indigenous specific opioid addiction center here in the Bay of Quinte area on Tyndonega land. So we need your help. We need you to repost this video and go to our GoFundMe campaign, because on this October 17th, St. Fatty's Day, we are going to be starting the campaign where we pass the peace pipe from one side of the country to another to unite our country, to gather awareness, but most importantly funds to build opioid addiction centers across the nation, one build at a time.
In February of 2022, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and Ted Smith were fined $6.5 million. This for helping 8,500 patients with access to medical cannabis. In our interview with Ted, he spoke to us about how people can donate to help in an upcoming court challenge. And here is part of that interview. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
For now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
Growing your own cannabis is easier than you think. Whether you're growing for recreational or medical purposes, BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. From the standard 4-plant recreational systems to the latest cutting-edge hydroponic equipment, BMA can customize your package and do it at discount prices. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and ask us for a free estimate. Or call 613-967-9888 and we will give you an estimate over the phone.
The only way to go.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. And we are the Reefer Reporters, and we are live here on our YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook page. Well, Glenn, that was that last story. Going that page and not right. We're just always being attacked.
They've been trying to do that for a long time now.
That's right, exactly. It's not right. Not right. Okay, on to our next stories. This is a wide variety here. We're going to be bouncing around the world, I think. First up, we got marijuana multi-state operators see sluggish revenue and losses in the first quarter to MJ Biz Daily.
There's a great big chart there. I can tell you what everybody lost, I guess. Most of the largest U.S. marijuana multi-state operators experienced revenue declines in the first quarter of 2022 versus the previous 6 months, reflecting seasonal factors, declining cannabis prices, and inflationary pressures that could be curbing consumer spending. Of the 12 largest MSOs, only Illinois-based Green Thumb Industries posted a net profit for the first 3 months of 2022.
Florida headquartered True Love Cannabis, meanwhile, inched ahead of Curaleaf Holdings for the top spot in revenue. But based on revenue guidance, Massachusetts-based Curaleaf likely will reclaim the top position, perhaps as soon as second quarter results are announced.
In a metric closely watched by investment analysts, half of the 16 largest cannabis MSOs beat EBITDA earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. Estimates, while half missed their projections about what one would expect in a given quarter, according to Frank Colombo, Director of Data and Analytics at New York-based Viridian Capital Advisors.
Now, he also says that what is striking is how little correlation there is between the missing EBITDA estimates and how the stock did. In fact, the company that outperformed the EBITDA estimated that most on a percentage basis, Nevada-based Planet 13 Holdings had the worst relative stock performance according to Viridian.
Meanwhile, the company that missed estimates by the most was TerraSend, with offices in New York and Toronto, but the stock slightly outperformed the market, Colombo wrote. Our conclusion is basically that investors shrugged off the quarter's numbers. Cannabis stock prices have been battered in the last 18 months, largely because of the lack of progress by Congress in reforming the nation's cannabis laws.
Colombo wrote that cannabis stock investors are now considering the following factors. How well is the company positioned to take advantage of the emerging recreational cannabis markets in New Jersey and New York? Is the company a potential takeover candidate? How is the company's liquidity situation? Will it need to raise money in what has become an unfavorable economic market to do so?
In addition, he wrote, it will be interesting to see if inflation and or a weakening economy start to have an impact on margins. True Leaf Cannabis captured the top spot in revenue on the strength of a 4% quarter-over-quarter increase, while Curaleaf's revenues slipped 2% for that same period.
MSOs typically enjoy a strong bump in sales during the December holiday period, followed by weakened sales after the first of the year. I think it happens in a lot of businesses. And
Yeah.
in 2022, cannabis companies also are facing such revenue squeezing factors as declining prices.
Yet the larger economy is experiencing inflation that affects the amount of money consumers have to spend on discretionary products such as cannabis. Trulieve is the market leader in Florida's billion-dollar-plus medical cannabis industry and has market-leading retail positions in Arizona and Pennsylvania, according to the company's regulatory filings.
But Trulieve doesn't have a presence at this point in New York or New Jersey and is seeing more competition in Florida, where it once commanded roughly half the market. They still believe that they still have nearly 50% of the retail sales in Florida, according to the state's May 27th weekly update, but its share of the sales of other THC products have fallen to roughly 40%.
Pablo Zuniak, investment analyst at the New York-based financial services firm Cantor Fitzgerald, estimated in a recent research note that Arizona, Florida, and Pennsylvania combined account for roughly 94% of Trulieve's sales in the first quarter. Of those three, only Arizona has an adult use market. Zuniak noted that Trulieve management reaffirmed full-year sales guidance at $1.3 billion to $1.4 billion, but he said the high end of that estimate may be strength in the current environment, especially if medical cannabis sales in Pennsylvania are adversely affected by residents crossing the border to buy recreational products in Jersey.
Yeah, he noted that there's no clear signs that these markets, these new markets, will even go rec, and that's true. You don't know.
Yeah.
You won't know until things are done. But he believes that Trulieve is likely to remain optimistic in terms of potential mergers and acquisitions. Curaleaf, meanwhile, is well positioned to take advantage of the new East Coast recreational cannabis markets with operations in Connecticut, New Jersey, and New York.
And Executive Chair Boris Jordan said Market Watch last month that despite a tough first quarter, the company still is on track to generate $1.4 to $1.5 billion in revenue this year. In a news release, Jordan said the company experienced strong month-over-month sales in March, and Curaleaf likely will reclaim the top revenue spot from Trulieve, according to its revenue guidance and Jordan's comments.
Vivian Azar, investment analyst in New York-based investment banking firm Cohen, had a similar take on the Curaleaf after it posted its first quarter results last month. She wrote that despite inflationary consumer headwinds, margins and revenues should expand sequentially from there. And in this case, deflation refers to marijuana price reductions.
And Illinois headquarters Cresco Labs is another company that investment analysts are watching closely because it's in the process of acquiring New York-based Columbia Care for roughly $2 billion. The acquisition likely will catapult Cresco into the company of Trulieve and Curaleaf, depending on how many assets are sold as part of the Columbia Care transaction.
Yeah. In addition, Cresco will have, they say, footholds in New York. They're talking about Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Virginia markets. But they also warned of possible investment risks, the integration of the Columbia Care acquisition, subpar growth trends, and stiffer competition in key states such as Illinois and Pennsylvania. So, just like here in Canada, not everybody's making money.
No, it's still an emerging market,
Yeah, well, they got to, they've got to open. Like here we have it federal, and our guys are, we're hearing complaints all the time. We were reporting on them. They're complaining about the taxes. So, all right, on to our next story. And when I read this, I thought, what? Israel researchers use repurposed plant virus to grow enhanced cannabis. So does that mean that they're taking something that's which is a negative and turning it into what they believe is a positive?
I guess so. I'm not quite sure yet. Israeli researchers have used advanced technology to grow an enhanced strain of cannabis that contains higher levels of THC and CBG, the main active components in cannabis, opening up new possibilities for the popular medicinal plant and recreational drug.
In work
See that they call it a
conducted.
medicinal plant, but a recreational drug.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because the word drug is a negative. It's just. Yeah. In work conducted at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem's Robert H. Smith Facility of Agricultural, Food, and Environment, researchers were able to successfully engineer and grow a cannabis plant with close to 17% higher levels of THC and 25% higher levels of CBG. And just so people know, it's a substance that's usually associated with a sensation of physical relaxation and sometimes used as a treatment for sleep disorders, inflammation, and chronic pain. The lab developed a strain also had up to a 30% higher presence of terpenes, which are responsible for maximizing the euphoric effects of cannabis. It's also medical benefit.
The study's goal, according to a statement issued by the university, was to develop a mechanism that would allow researchers to intervene in the biochemical pathways of the cannabis plant and change the level of active substances it produces. Researchers were eventually able to increase or decrease the levels of specific substance by manipulating a plant-based virus and repurposing it. Instead of harming the plant, researchers created a version of the virus that was able to affect the genes of the cannabis plant that influenced the production of its active substances. That could change things.
Wow. This represents an innovative use of these tools, which are constructed using synthetic biological tools, GMO. Meanwhile, manipulating a cannabis plant and affecting the levels of its active components or their proportions has never been done before, the university noted, opening up new possibilities for the medical industry.
Yeah, they're saying this has never been done, but it's been done by micro people combining plants. It's almost the same thing. I know they're actually changing.
Yeah, we've been able to increase THC levels. Well, they complain about that all the time. This isn't your parents' cannabis you're smoking. And they say that the percentage has gone up all the time. So breeders and stuff have been able to increase the THC levels.
Yep. These study results will be valuable both to the industry to increase the yield of active substances and to medical research to cultivate and develop new strains for medical cannabis users, Valenstein said. I just lost my thing here. Adding the more experiments will be done with the engineered plant. The information will be made available to the cannabis industry within months.
The scientific community so far has been able to identify over 200 active ingredients in the cannabis plant, and a race is underway to identify additional substances and medical treatments that can be derived from it.
Yeah, and Israel's medical cannabis market was valued at around $264 million in 2021, roughly $7 million less than the entirety of Europe's, according to Prohibition Partners and an industry analysis firm. Last August, the government amended its medical cannabis export rules to allow for the export of cannabis seeds. The change came after intensive pressure from companies in the cannabis industry.
And earlier this month, the first ever export shipment of Israeli cannabis seeds left for the U.S., with the Israeli agricultural minister hailing the move as a major step towards Israel's becoming a global pioneer in the field.
I think they've been considered a pioneer in the field for a long time now.
That's what I'd say as well. I've always looked at them as being a leader when it comes to research because, of laws and restrictions on this side of the pond.
They've actually been studying it for a long time, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we even have spots where hospitals where they've allowed people to use volcano vaporizers and stuff.
Oh, okay. I haven't read that story.
Oh, yeah, it was years ago, so it's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know where they're at presently, but I know that they were there at one time.
Wow.
So, all right, on to our next story from the Fresh Toast. A new survey shows Gen Z or Z prefers weed over alcohol. Why is this?
Younger generations are growing up in unprecedented times. Concerns like the pandemic, global warming, and having access to an endless stream of information have reshuffled their priorities, making them into a generation that stands apart from the rest. When it comes to cannabis, they're also the first to grow up with a legal consumption environment. According to a new survey, this experience has impacted their preferences for substances, as Gen Z seems to prefer cannabis over alcohol. Wow, the LCBO is not going to like that.
No. Conducted by New Frontier Data, the survey revealed the participants between the ages of 18 and to 24 largely preferred cannabis to alcohol, 69%. As participants aged up, their preference for cannabis faded, perhaps indicating how impactful legalization has been for young people and how this might impact future trends in substance consumption and marketing.
And it makes sense to me. I mean, the old people were always against it, and we're slowly kind of, changing.
Well, as they've reported several times, the seniors' use of cannabis has increased.
Yes.
Now that I, when I was younger, I would say those older people, those people that were like 60 and 70 years of age, they're the ones who are all against cannabis.
Yep.
And here I am, I'm 60 years of age. And, I look at things differently. Now I'm seeing people that were 75 years of age, 80 years of age. Well, at one point, Grandpa Brown, who you probably met at the documentary shows in Campbellford, he was in his 90s.
Yeah.
So I think it's bad to give the.
I think once the older generation realized that they were lied to for so long, it kind of changed their focus a little bit.
Things, yeah, and the medical need, and then, maybe they experimented way back then and found and knew that there was no problem.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as they kept telling them.
Right. Yeah.
When it comes to why young people prefer cannabis over alcohol, Bloomberg quotes another survey that shows different reasons. These include the fact that cannabis provides sleep aid, an opportunity for emotional release, and also a fun activity that people can participate in. Many participants also mentioned health concerns as one of the reasons, showing the degree to which cannabis is viewed as something natural and beneficial when compared to a substance like alcohol. And that's actually refreshing to hear that, because that's not what I heard during my youth.
No, exactly. Alcohol companies will certainly have to take this new understanding into account, but it's also important for cannabis proponents and legislators to keep this information at hand, especially as cannabis continues to gain traction. Cannabis users under the age of 25 are a delicate group, having young brains that have not yet to reach full maturity. Exposing themselves to cannabis could result in negative side effects that have yet to be elevated for necessary authorities.
And cannabis legislation is a slow-moving process, but it's one that society has already absorbed. It's important for government entities to catch up and conduct the necessary research to understand cannabis, providing people with the information they need to keep themselves protected and to avoid damage in the long term.
There you go. Well, it's good to see, they talk about the developing brain, but what they didn't mention in there is that alcohol also affects the developing brain.
And I also know much more people that died due to alcohol and traffic accidents and things like that than I don't remember anybody dying from cannabis consumption.
Yeah, I know.
So,
yeah.
I'm not saying it's all roses, but I mean, I think it's a lot more safe than alcohol.
It takes a while to get rid of anywhere between 90 and 100 years of propaganda.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. All right.
We're going to do a little more propaganda right now.
You beat me to it.
Sorry.
Headline: Fox News host Laura Ingraham, guns don't kill people, potheads kill people.
Yeah, and in the wake of...
I haven't got a clue what the rest of the story is about because I haven't read it yet, but potheads don't kill people.
Well, you know what Laura Ingraham's going to say about it anyway. In the wake of last week's Uvalde, Texas shooting, the second deadliest shooting in U.S. history, or school shooting in U.S. history, and the 27th this year, conservatives have taken to social media, cable news, and the NRA event that took place just 72 hours after the 19 kids and 2 teachers were murdered to do what they always do: blame the atrocity on literally everything but guns. Republicans have offered ridiculous solutions that all conveniently avoid doing the one thing other nations know prevents these sort of events and from occurring all the time. Ted Cruz thought up only building schools with one door. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, like many in the Republicans, wants to arm teachers. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene believes that all we need is prayer. And a retired detective told Sean Hannity the answer is man traps, a series of interlocking doors at school entrance that are triggered by a tripwire, and it traps the shooter like a rat.
Oh.
It's crazy.
Not to be outdone by Detective Booby Trap, whose ideas sound a lot like the ones Kevin McAllister used to stop the West Bandits from Home Alone. Fox News' Laura Ingraham posted the following on Tuesday evening: that guns don't kill people. A drug known for making people lethargic and hungry kills people.
Yeah, according to Ingram, we don't need to get rid of weapons. We can just fire. That can fire 400 rounds per minute. We need to go after pot.
Yeah, they've been going after cannabis for 100 years.
Yeah.
During a segment with Russell Kamer, who's a doctor and the medical director of Partners in Safety, an organization that helps companies perform drug tests on employees, Ingram noted that it was initially reported that this gunman was a user, but the New York Times mysteriously edited the detail from the story. Why aren't people in general not talking more about the pot psychosis violent behavior connection? Ingram asked. What we find in the studies is that it's very clear the use of high potency cannabis is strongly associated with the development of psychosis. Kramer claimed. He added that his colleagues in Colorado, where they're sounding the alarm because that was one of the first states to legalize. It's practically a daily occurrence that kids come into the emergency rooms in floored cannabis-induced psychosis.
I don't believe that for one. It's a daily occurrence.
Wow.
That should be pretty easy to.
I haven't heard any reports of anything about cannabis being involved in this kid until hearing about her.
Yeah, and they were talking earlier that he had used hard drugs, including acid and other assorted hard drugs, at the same time. So I don't know what this has to do with cannabis.
This is all coming from one source. This is all coming from one news source, Fox. Cannabis and the hard drugs.
Yeah. Ingram then suggests that Texas gubernatorial candidate Beto O'Rourke is a fool because he wants to ban guns, which have killed more than 18,000 people in the U.S. this year, but has endorsed legalizing weed. People like Beto, they are fine for doing a run on the guns, and I guess you could argue, if that's what you want to do, try to get rid of the Second Amendment, but yet they are completely oblivious to what legalization of cannabis has done and is doing to an entire generation of Americans with violent consequences, she argued absurdly. I'd say absurd.
She's absurd.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ingram did not mention if any of the countries where mass shootings don't occur on a regular basis have legalized cannabis, because that would undermine the entire premises, or her entire premises.
This is so patently, clearly fake. I don't understand how they're even, getting by, even with the people that are their fans.
It's diverting away from the problem.
But it's so fake. Like, you can tell right away that it's fake. People have tried cannabis. They know what it does to you. I don't know.
It was an 18-year-old who doesn't have legal access to cannabis.
Yeah. And shouldn't have legal access to guns.
This is Reefer Madness,
Yeah.
2.0 style thing that he went out and smoked a joint, and all of a
went
sudden he's
crazy.
got an AK whatever going in and killing 19 kids.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's so easy. I mean, almost everybody I've ever met has tried cannabis one time or another. Not everybody, but almost. And I don't know anybody who went mad on it. I don't know anybody who went crazy. Most people just get pretty mellow. They might want a sandwich.
You know, if she's accusing the cannabis of this, has she got any back data showing that all?
No, they
all
never
the
back
other
it up.
ones?
They never back it up. They just state
They
it.
never back it up. Just throw that out there.
Yeah.
Just throw the crap out there and don't back nothing up. You know,
It'll stick to somebody, you know.
on Facebook sometimes. Sad.
Yeah, it is.
Right. On to the next story. This one's completely different. So let's off to the mushroom factory we go, because according to Mugglehead magazine, Optimi enters natural psilocybin study agreement with Filament Health.
And the Optimal Health Group is set to start distributing shrooms to a psilocybin-focused pharmaceutical developer. On Tuesday, the Vancouver-based producer with operations in Princeton, British Columbia, announced a partnership with the clinical stage natural psilocybin developer company Filament Health.
Under the agreement, both companies have agreed to a one-year term, which would allow Filament to place orders for whole, dried, fruiting body mushrooms on a case-by-case basis. The mushrooms will be grown and distributed from Optimi's 20,000 square foot EU GMP facility in Princeton, which is used for drug development, testing, and analysis. That'd be good manufacturing practices, GMP.
Yeah. Optima stock went up 7.14% on Tuesday to 0.38 cents on the Canadian Securities Exchange. The company recently signed another deal with Hallucinex Life Sciences to deliver shrooms fruiting bodies. I think that's the one we covered a week or two ago.
That was one that we had just covered.
I remember they got a nice big contract and their stock went down.
Well, there was one that Kelly and I did on Monday as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, their Optimus CEO Bill Sipruk says that our supply agreement with Filament Health is an excellent fit for both companies. Filament's commitment to the development of a unique I won't get it out. Properties using natural psychedelic medicines and the advancement of natural psilocybin in the space as a whole are well aligned with our whole values and goals for the future of psychedelics.
And Filament CEO Benjamin Lightburn said the company is pleased with the partnership as it builds its own supply chain and explores external suppliers. This is an important step for Filament, and we look forward to determining the compatibility of Optimi's product and our industry-leading natural extraction technology. Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's a whole new world that I don't know much about other than trying them numerous times when I was young. So it's all new to me, and I'm fascinated by it.
It's it's a lot of it. I find that it's following the route of the cannabis end of things, and I believe that the governments feel that there were some things that they didn't like the way that the cannabis one rolled out, and they're trying to get ahead of the curve because they know it's coming.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So, all right, that's all. That's all our stories for today. Anything else you want to mention before we sign off?
No, I just found today be pretty fascinating. Some really good stories there.
Yes, there was. That's right. Well, that's what we try to do. Try to bring some fascinating stories, at least 20 a week. And really, you could almost do a news show every day because there's always something that's coming out. Right?
Yeah.
So, that's our Reefer report from the Legacy420.com news desk for June the 2nd, 2022. And as we close the show, we'd like to say thank you to our sponsors, as we always do. Legacy420.com, BMAhydroponics.com, drbuckcts.com, plus the Camelford Lifestyle Shop in downtown Camelford. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.